Okay, today's going to be an interesting day. Before I get going, I need to give a big shout out to the incomparable, well-informed Darren T. And if you are not subscribed to this guy, well, if you're into opentoonz, you should be subscribed to this guy because he's a good guy and he really knows opentoonz inside and out. In fact, here I can see that I probably have a message from him. Yeah. So anyway, you too should subscribe, and we'll make it our goal to see to it that Darren T has more subscribers than me. He's catching up. He is definitely catching up. I love it. So one thing Darren T showed me is that I had noted that if you open up the opentoonz projects in a text editor, like so, okay, you can see that a toonz file is just plain old XML. But whenever I try to take scene files and very carefully edit the XML in a programming editor that handles XML correctly with, syntax highlighting and all that sort of thing. Whenever I would edit it and then open the project in opentoonz, it did not degrade gracefully. opentoonz would routinely crash. So one thing that Darren pointed out to me, like literally today, well, he pointed it out last week, but I missed the message, was the following. Okay, if you actually, let me go back here and show you. In your Windows menu, there's an option called Scene Cast. And if you open the Scene Cast, this window is what you see. And the remarkable thing about it is it will contain a list of every level that's not only in your scene now, but actually every level that was ever in your scene. And so if you're inclined to complain like me, you might go, well, that's stupid. If I delete the level, if you think about it, there's three levels of file management that we're actually talking about. There's the idea of deleting something off your hard drive, okay, because opentoonz creates a level file, and the opentoonz scene refers to that level file, and that level file is stored separately on your hard drive. So philosophically, I've always thought, well, okay, if I delete a level out of this scene, I wouldn't want opentoonz to delete it off my hard drive. And indeed, it doesn't. Okay, so that's smart, because what if you need to use that level again later or get something back out of it, blah, 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 blah. What confused me, though, was the second level of data management, which is opentoonz maintaining a reference in the toonz file to that level that you deleted, even though it doesn't show up anywhere in your timeline. Well, what we see with this little window is that opentoonz actually has solved that problem by giving you the ability to, what do I want to say? You decide when you want to really get the levels completely out of the toonz file. In point of fact, you can do it. And here's how you do it. It's this simple. This scene right here was, I believe it was 1.25 megabytes. Okay, I right mouse clicked here and I clicked remove all unused levels, and believe me, there were a lot of them. Now I don't have any unused levels, so there's nothing more to delete. I resaved the file. It was like 25 kilobytes. I mean, I had a ton of scene files that were bloated, and this thing that Darren showed me solved it. Gets rid of the bloat. Okay, and by the way, the level files are still in your on your hard drive. Maybe I should show that just for kicks and giggles. In what opentoonz does is whenever you create a project, it creates these folders for you. So the upshot of the story is that your scenes are going to be in here. So there they are. Your toonz raster levels are going to be in here, as well as the meshes that represent the use of the plastic tool. So they're in the drawings folder. And then I believe your raster levels, which are just plain old sequences of images, yeah, are going to be in the extras folder. Okay, I can live with that. So the interesting task that we have today, and by the way, we'll do a quick recap of where we're at, just because that's what I often do. I did this shot, I think, yesterday. And then I did a quick edit on this shot today to just sort of make it work. So she rips her dress, and then she reacts. Let me check one thing here. Yeah, okay, so she reacts, and then these guys react because they kind of like what they see, and then of course she responds to that. So this is the shot we're dealing with right now. My thinking was that I want to put a little bit more expression and reaction into their eyes. So the problem that I have is kind of, I don't want to say unique, but it's kind of an interesting problem. The problem is that this is a toonz, this is a plain old raster level. That's why it's called the Battle Baked, is because what used to be a toonz raster level months ago got baked into a simple image sequence. And at the time, that was probably born of my naive attempts to try to bring down file sizes and make things more manageable and that sort of thing by just sort of baking things down. In a lot of contexts, that makes sense. Here, it actually didn't and created more problems. So the problem that I have is if I try to edit this, for example, if I were to try to, well, there it goes. opentoonz just crashed. So you can see what I mean. opentoonz seems to be a little persnickety when it comes to going back to legacy raster levels and trying to tweak and change things. But there's kind of an easy fix thanks to Krita. Here's the deal. Let me make sure my windows are open, by the way. I'm going to open my, because opentoonz just crashed, I kind of lost one setting, which was that my scene-cast window was open. In this window over here, and my level settings was also open in my screen over here. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I've got this camera move. I'm happy with the shot. It's just that I want to put a little more expression in these guys' reactions. So since I don't want to crash opentoonz again, and I want to make sure that these other windows that are open over here, let me close this so it doesn't look so confusing. So I want to make sure these are going to be open the next time I run opentoonz. And I'm pretty sure the way to accomplish that would be to just kill opentoonz now and rerun it. Okay, because if you open windows and rearrange things and then opentoonz crashes, whatever you did gets lost. And indeed, I can see in my other window that yes, my scene cast is there now. It happens that the level settings is not, so there might be a little bit of mishmash to that. But kind of the relevant point here for this is that I want to know where these pictures are. Okay, because the problem I'm going to have, if I go to the drawing view and look at the list of pictures in this raster level, opentoonz is probably going to crash again. So I don't want to jump over to the drawing room, which is right here, and take my chances. But what I can see right here is this is L anime render baked the battle baked. Okay, so cool. Well, so I come over here, L anime render baked the battle baked. There it is. So this drawing that I'm looking at in opentoonz right now is in fact this drawing right here. So the problem is with this is numerically sequenced 154, 155, etc., etc. Okay? So even if opentoonz didn't crash every time I try to edit this picture, I'm still going to have the problem of how is opentoonz going to manage the numbering even if I could insert a drawing in between these two. So the solution is actually pretty simple, which is I'm going to drag this drawing down into Krita, and I'm going to go ahead and edit the guy's expressions here and just turn this into a really simple, probably three cell animation. I don't even think I'm going to work out any timing at all, because then I'll just export these 3 drawings. I'm going to take this drawing, change it twice, and then bring that sequence of 3 drawings back into opentoonz. Simple. And then this level here, and I'll move these level settings up and away. So then this level here will wind up being turned off. And just to keep things consistent, I'll probably just link the new level to this one so that it inherits this camera move, which isn't really a camera move. It's actually just scaling the picture. Okay? So therefore, just to also keep things consistent, this is 0091E, so I'm going to immediately save this. Anime Krita 0091E. And it looks like the last time I was using Krita, and I didn't close it in between, Krita was, I was saving as ping, so there we go. Okay. Time to rock and roll. Now the first thing let's do is let's fix this. And the cool thing is, actually, if I was gonna do this as only a 2 image sequence instead of 3, I really think there should be 3. If it was only 2, I could just manually edit these 2 pictures, and then just reopen the project in opentoonz, and all the images would update. But I want to have that extra 3rd drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is just clean this situation up, because I'm not really digging what's going on with these guys, with the fact that this didn't fill that well. Oh, Zuko just said okay. Zuko's my African gray parrot. He's such a great guy. You'd be amazed how much he says that's contextual, where it's clear that he really does know what he's saying. They're so smart. They're the smartest animal, deemed to be the smartest animal there is. Smarter than chimps, smarter than dolphins, yada yada yada. Okay, so actually, why don't we save ourselves some headaches and put this on a different level? I'll show you why here in a minute. Because I'm going to do some distortion, and I want to, as much as possible, have as few things to edit as possible. So I'm just going to get rid of the eyebrows. And what we'll do is we'll go Control Insert, so that creates another keyframe. And all I have to do is go like this. You can see where this is going. Okay. Okay, and that's going to have to obviously be tweaked like so. And then Control Insert. Let's literally do it again. Yeah, so it's just the idea that these guys get really wide-eyed when they see what they see. Which is perfectly natural. Akari's an attractive young lady. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so now we're going to click that outline color. And I'm going to hit Q, which for me turns on the stabilizer. think I want that slightly darker. Whoops. Missed. Okay. Back to the previous frame. Yep. Okay. So now we can go back here and kind of sort of do the same thing. Control insert, and then here we're going to go insert, insert. I'm not going to try to edit these. Hitting the M key here. Trying to really just feel what would this guy's expression do if he saw what he just saw. I don't know. I think that's pretty close. I don't think I like this. Yeah. So let's just... Okay. File. Save. Remember, the camera is going to be zooming in at the same time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back. And we're just going to fix this the same way. So kind of in the back of my mind, bearing in mind that that these are the same keys. These guys are both using the same keyframes. So actually, that does present a bit of a problem that I hadn't considered. So let me think about this for a moment. What I'm thinking about is the fact that this guy's I just cleaned up a couple little flaws in him. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit File, Save, just so we're on safe ground here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this level, or this layer. Okay? And I'll just label this now so I don't have to think about it later. And in the copy, I am going to select Ninja 1 and delete him. And so now I just have to go through and delete him in all three of those. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is go into this level, or layer. Krita calls them layers. opentoonz calls them levels. And I'm going to do the complete opposite. Delete, delete, delete. Okay. So now this layer has only the one guy and this layer has the other guy. So why did I do that? Well, because now I can take these two keyframes and get rid of them. So now the guys are effectively separated into their own layers, and all the corrections that I just made on Ninja 2 will propagate. So this needs to come down here. And now we can do whatever the heck we want to do with Ninja 2. Which is, by the way, I'm going to take this and take these two, and let me just check something here. Okay, and this is, let's organize our work a little bit here. So I'm going to hit Control G and just call this N1. So now I can just turn that off. And then Control G to create a group for that, and I'll call this N2. There's no reason for that naming other than the fact that through this whole project I've been referring to these two guys as Ninja 1 and Ninja 2. So now that I did that, I can go in and fix a few things that I've been kind of wanting to fix anyway. Such as this. This sort of lame... Okay, really, Dave? Lame shadow. which should be more crisp. Maybe I should be using some kind of geometry tool for this. One wonders, since I seem to be drawing rather sloppily. Okay. So let's just fill these up, then grab the brush and fix up where it didn't quite fill correctly. Okay. So, sehr gut. I'll just call this, that's not N1, that's N2. N2 ANIM for animation. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is change his eyes slightly. Alright, hit Control Insert, go to the next. I'm going to make this a duplicate so that I can erase this and just redraw the eyebrows. In other words, I don't want to have to redraw the pupils and run the risk of putting them in the wrong positions. So okay, now the question becomes, do I want to expand the eyes a little bit? Save. Here's how I would do it. If I was going to do it, this is what I would do. This is kind of an interesting exercise right here. I'm going to take this whole raccoon mask of his eyes and hit Control X, Control V. Okay, so now what I did was I effectively just put his eyes in a separate layer. N2 eyes. Why would I do that? Well, now I can actually animate these completely independently and kind of sort of have it work. So the only issue is what you see right there. So what I'm going to do, whoops. So now how do we fix that? It's easy. We'll just paint over that like so. Whoops. So yeah, those embarrassment lines are really the only thing that makes it a little bit clunky. But basically that works. Okay. So now we should be able to just test what I wanted to try, which is take the animate tool and I'm going to hit Alt, move that up a little bit. I'm going to do it twice. Actually, I guess I didn't really want to hit Alt. If you don't hit Alt, they kind of move out from the center, which is really what I want in this case. Okay, so now we can turn Ninja 2 back on, save that, and I'm going to go up in my animation settings and change my frame rate to 8 frames per second. That way this is effectively on 3s. Oops. And let's make it just 4 frames long. Check out the ninjas. I'm just giving them a little expression because in this shot they just saw her dress rip. So yeah, it's having fun. Okay, so now we need to render these guys out and then just bring this 3-image sequence into opentoonz. So we're going to render the animation. We're not going to do the usual thing and turn it into an MP4. Now this is interesting. 0, 1, 2, 3. So actually this should be 0 through 2, not 0 through 3. Okay, we're going to do pings. Let's put it in the render. Okay, we don't want to put it in just a temp folder because opentoonz is going to have to reference these images forever. So I'm going to actually try to trick this a little bit in this way. I'm going to go ahead and try this. I don't know if this is a great idea, but I'm going to go into the extras, and I'm actually going to roll my own. So let's see, as an example, let me just look here. Selected. Oh, it's having me determine the directory. I'm sorry, guys. I'm snoozing here. Let me go to my other view. What I'm looking at here is extras, and let's say Akari sleeping. So in the Akari sleeping folder, what we see is these are all raster levels, and the way they work is there's a name followed by 4 digits followed by TIFF. So they're TIFFs. They don't have to be TIFFs. They could be pings. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go 0091E, create my own folder, and that's where I'm going to save Krita's sequence right there, and I'm going to call these 0091E, and I believe you want to put a period. Actually, I'm sorry, 1E 2 ninjas period. I think by putting in the period, Krita is going to render it with the appropriate 4 digits after the period. Now it might put an extra period in there before the ping. We'll find out. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to render this and then just go back here, and it looks like we got exactly what we wanted. 0091E 2 ninjas dot 000 through 1. So now, or I'm sorry, through 2. So now I can go back here, and what should happen is if I drag the first image in right here, opentoonz knows exactly what to do and loads up all 3 of them. Perfect. So now I'm going to reframe this on, actually what I'm going to do is go, let's give this a little bit of lead in. Let's say half a second. We'll make this one on 3s, and we'll stretch this out, and then what we need to do is we need to link the 2 levels together. So now these, yeah, this is all holdover from cleaning up the shot. So I'm just going to do some ungrouping here. Column 1, column 2, so there's our background, and column 3 should be routed into column 2. Okay, so now the one problem we have is, let's go back to our level settings. And what we see here is we got a DPI of 72. Let me change that to 120 and see what happens. Okay, by changing the DPI to 120, you kind of have to think in reverse about it. You sort of have to reverse it in your head. But what that did was, if the DPI is higher, given the same amount of physical space on the screen, higher DPI means the image has to be smaller, because you're taking all the dots that make up the picture and squeezing them into a smaller space. So you're squeezing 120 dots into each inch instead of only 72. Net result, my image shrank. So higher DPI means the image shrinks. So now I'm going to take this level and actually turn it off both here and here. This way it won't render. And now if I mask to the camera, we just need to check our timing at this point. And by the way, this little glitch right here needs to be fixed, but I can manually fix that. Well, actually, I didn't deal with the background, so let me see. I'm sure that's a background issue. It is, so we'll just go in and fix the background painting. So let's just see how that feels. Okay, I'm going to say, whoops. I'm going to say this. I'm going to put this back on 3s so this reaction happens more promptly. I like that. I like it muy mucho. Okay, so file, save all. So now what do we need to do? Well, let's go back into our anime image backgrounds. I think this is where I need to be, but I can check by looking here at my level settings. By clicking on the background image, I can see this is actually from the same place as the other. It's this. Okay, and the actual image, well, okay, this is the image sequence. I don't know if I have a way to know exactly which image in the sequence that is. Well, okay. So that means I'm kind of taking a chance here. It could be any of these that happen to look like duplicates. That's not good. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a really, really radical chance. Radical. Better save all. Better save all, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and opentoonz. It didn't blow up. It didn't blow up. Okay. All is well with the world. Okay, what that means is I can grab my oil paint brush, hit the R key to sample this blue, turn my brush back on and just go like that. Now if I go save all, and opentoonz didn't crash. That's great. Yay. So I solved that problem. Dodged that bullet. Yeah, there we go. Let's render the sucker and be done with it. And this is going to be anime render, and we all know what it is, 0091 e.mp4. Right? Is that right? That's right. Save it. Okay. And now while that's rendering, let's jump back to Blender. Okay, so here's the old version of that shot, and I'm just going to line this up right there so that when I drag this in from the render folder, it's going to drop in the right spot. Okay, so let's just find it. 0091E is right there. There it is. We can see it does exactly what we expected it to do. And now we drag it in here. And we just need to add a little color correction to make everything right with the world. And then we'll decide if I made the shot long enough. Okay, it looks like opentoonz decided that there's a blank frame at the end of this. Let's go back here. Actually, I don't want basics. I think I want, actually, yeah, I tend to like this view a little bit better. Yep, look at that. Aha, look at that. We got some erroneous stuff. Okay. Save all. That's no big deal. So now the only hiccup here is that I need to save my work in Blender and then just create a new file so that all the video files are not open. Okay. And so now we can re-render that and have everything magically happen for us. So we overwrite that. This is only going to take literally half a second. If I come over here, I'm waiting for it to finish rendering. It's done. And now if I open the Blender edit, and then there's her reaction, which that's going to have to be cleaned up as well. You can see the shadows are in completely the wrong place. I don't even know what was going on there. Yeah, I like that. So she's like, oh my gosh. The only thing that bugs me a little bit is I wonder, I actually almost wish the eye action was a little more exaggerated. For the moment, I'm going to stick with it. Okay, that's it. So now we come back here, and that'll do it for this shot. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here so that I can post this video, and then we will come back around to the next shot where Akari is covering herself up. And I'm thinking I'm going to just dive right back in and do that shot here in half a second. So that's it. As you know, there will be more later.